found themselves isolated in these islands were the only original Britons. All the rest, Celts, Romans, Angles, Saxons, Jutes, Vikings, Normans, they were all immigrants. In fact, there are one or two conservative politicians who'd still like to see a repatriation policy based on this narrow criterion. Historians have debated long and hard about which invaders came when. It is believed that the stone circle temple at Avebury was built by Neolithic man, but their supremacy was challenged by a stronger, larger race who originated in the Rhineland, reaching Britain in around 1900 BC. These invaders have been dubbed the Beaker people, so called because of the pottery they brought with them. Since remains of the Beaker people have been found buried with their beakers, archaeologists believe that great significance was attached to the beakers. They're obsessed with bloody beakers. Every birthday it was the same. You'll never guess what I've got you. Oh, thank you, darling. What a surprise. I'll put it with all the others. It might be that the importance of the beaker was to do with what it was used for. Alcohol was a recent discovery, and the magical powers of this drink may have had religious meaning for the Beaker people. The drinking of fermented honey would probably have been a great religious ceremony, with formal sipping being executed with great reverence as they paid homage to their gods. And then half an hour later it was all, "Oh, you spilled my beaker. Oh yeah, do you want some? Right, outside, you beardy bastard." These were the people who built Stonehenge, and after a long day dragging giant rocks into place, you'd probably need a drink or two. Many of the stones were quarried in South Wales, 160 miles away from their destination on Salisbury Plain, and sunken stones have been found at the bottom of the Severn estuary, which must have been the cause of a certain amount of prehistoric swearing. You spent months hacking a 14-foot rock out of the Welsh hills, you drag it 40 miles, and then halfway across the River Severn, the bloke running the little ferry service explains that his raft wasn't quite as watertight as he'd thought. "I'm terribly sorry, I seem to have lost your sacred stone." "Oh, not to worry, really, we can go back and get another one, it's no trouble." By this time, Britain was following the rest of Europe into the Bronze Age. It is hard to imagine that one type of metal could have so transformed life for early man. Today its only use is to make the medals for British athletes at the Commonwealth Games, but back then this new alloy brought about a revolution. Bronze Age man would have treasured the strength and versatility of this new resource, and there would have been much debate about the evolving process of metalwork. So how do you make this bronze stuff exactly? You smelt together the ore of two different minerals, copper and tin, see? I thought that made brass. You sure we're not living in the brass age? Now, brass is copper and zinc, isn't it? Is it copper and lead? What about this metal here? What's this? Oh, that's iron. That's much better. So isn't this the Iron Age, then? Well, it is now, but it wasn't when we started talking about bronze. The Iron Age came to Britain around the 7th century BC. It is not just marked by this switch to stronger metal, but also by all sorts of development in society, advances in pottery, metalwork, woodwork, and all the other subjects you choose because they sound easier than GCSE physics. In the centuries before the Romans made their first visit to these shores, complex and ornate objects were created by the Celtic metallurgists. Numerous metal artifacts have been recovered from British rivers: swords, axe heads, shields, helmets, and a Sainsbury's shopping trolley, though this is thought to come from much, much later. The Iron Age Britons, described by Julius Caesar, were very similar to the tribes in northern Gaul. Jewellery was fashioned from shells and bronze. Druids administered herbal remedies, and hairy, bearded craftsmen daubed bright colours all over their bodies and believed in the power of the sun and the stars. Basically, the whole place was populated by hippies. The Romans definitely looked favourite to beat this lot. Caesar decided that to secure northern Gaul, he would need to crush their comrades on the other side of the Channel, and so in 55 BC he sailed over the Oceanus Britannicus and landed near the White Cliffs of Dover. This first visit may have been more of a reconnaissance mission than invasion, because the following year he returned with 800 boats especially designed for the cross-channel journey. Men in woolly hats waved each chariot driver to get his vehicle as close as possible to the one in front, and then it was a mad rush up to sea deck to claim their comfy seats for the crossing. But Caesar met fierce resistance and was nearly driven out of Britain by sheer weight of numbers. His absence from Gaul had also led to further uprisings there, and so, with a handful of British Celtic chieftains now in the pay of Rome, he crossed back over the English Channel, never to return. Contrary to popular belief, Caesar never did conquer Britain. He came, he saw, he went home again. So, over the following 100 years, Britain took on a certain amount of glamour as the land that not even the iconic Caesar